The DC direct-to-DVD animated movies are like some of my favorite things to talk about, but I've missed so many of them. It would be kind of crazy for me to go back and do each one individually. So I decided to just fuck it, and I'm gonna go through each one, starting with the one I like the least, and kind of give a little rundown on what I thought about each one. So the ones I like the least are obviously the ones that I didn't even buy, because if I didn't buy them, they must be pretty bad. So starting with the last one, the one I like the least was Batman and Son. I'm not a fan of like the whole ninja aspect of that, like the ninja aspect of Batman. I'm more of a fan of like the detective Dick Tracy fighting crazy wacko style of Batman. So Batman and Son kind of was all ninja all the time. The animation I didn't like. It looked kind of cheap to me. I don't know. It looked like really like cheap anime. I don't know. I'm not an expert on anime, so I guess I shouldn't be calling it out. But there's a lot of I remember the fight scenes were really dumb. Like me and my friends were like laughing at it more than enjoying it, like laughing at it in a bad way. Like there's a lot of obviously I didn't own it, so I didn't watch as much as the other one. But I remember like didn't they take down like a helicopter with like a spear, or like a Black Hawk helicopter got taken down by ninjas with arrows or something? Or maybe they were all just shot, and that was what we laughed at. I don't know, but not a big fan of the whole ninja thing. I mean, Ra's al Ghul is cool, Talia al Ghul is cool, but you know, not for a whole movie, I think. Once in a while, when done well, I like them. But and once in a while, when done well, I also like Damien. He was not. I don't think he was done well in this one. It's one thing to read a kid being like an obnoxious snot. It's another thing to actually have to listen to a kid being an obnoxious snot. And I never liked Damien and Batman and Bruce Wayne together anyway, because it's like two angry, obnoxious people. I think it's much better when he's paired up with Dick Grayson, and then we have Dick kind of taking the piss out of him a little bit. Also Deathstroke was the bad guy in this movie, and they kind of made him look like an idiot. Like Damien just straight up kicked his ass, which I didn't appreciate. And also his voice actor kind of sucked. But that's pretty much all I have to say about Batman and Son. My least favorite one. It's okay if you like ninja stuff, but still my least favorite one. Okay, after that, it was Batman, Superman, Apocalypse. This one, the name itself is a bit of a misnomer because it's not really about like Batman's like Wonder Woman is in it more than Batman, and Supergirl is in it more than Wonder Woman. It's really a Supergirl story, and I'm not a big Supergirl fan, so needless to say, I mean it was okay. I'm going to say it's okay. A lot of these, I'm sterling vocabulary skills on display here. There's not a big Supergirl fan. I didn't see the worst. Even worse than bad is boring. Like I just remember being boring. I don't remember that much about it. The fight scenes on Apocalypse were pretty cool. Especially Wonder Woman. I remember Wonder Woman kicking a lot of ass. But other than that, nothing really special about it. So those are the only two I didn't buy. So continuing with the Batman Superman. Next up is Batman Superman Public Enemies. This one is yeah. Batman and Superman have I like Batman, I like Superman, and you would think seeing them together would be fun, but I don't know. Just like you don't get you don't get like a really good Batman story or a really good Superman story. You just kind of get like a half Batman story and a half-ass Superman story. In this one, for me at least. I don't know. I don't like Jeff Loeb. It was based on a Jeff Loeb story. Only thing he ever written worthwhile was Long Halloween. And this movie was just a bunch of fights. There wasn't really that much of a story to talk about. And the fights were pretty, I don't want to say bad, but like, like I think it's called like the law of conservation of ninjutsu. It's like the more enemies the heroes are fighting, the less competent those enemies are. So like we have like hordes of supervillains attacking these two, and they just like run through them like they're like Batman just like takes Bane out like a putty essentially. So that was kind of like it's cool when a bunch of villains show up, but then if they all get their asses kicked, it's like I don't care. The only really cool fight was Shazam and Hawkman show up to fight Batman and Superman. That was a cool fight. It was cool to get the voice actors from the DC animated, the Bruce Timm Justice League animated. Well, Superman was from Superman and Batman. Kevin Conroy and not George Newbern. George Newbern was the second one. Whoever Look it up on IMDb if you care that much. It was cool to get, and Clancy Brown is the best Lex Luthor ever, so it was cool to get him back. Speaking of voice actor, they got John C. McGinley and LeVar Burton, Dr. Cox and Geordie LaForge, to do Metallo and Black Lightning, respectively. And each one of them had like one line each. It was kind of weird they brought in, I think, these pretty fairly famous actors, I'd say, to do like one line. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm glad they got a paycheck, but kind of they couldn't have gotten like Bob from The Office to do Metallo's one line. Yeah, whatever. All in all, interesting fights, but definitely not the best they have to offer. Okay, next up is Superman Doomsday. This is the first one they made, and I think the problem with this one for me is that I just don't like the Superman Doomsday story. I don't think Doomsday is that interesting of a villain. He's just a big dumb monster, and for the story of the death of Superman, I think it would be something more heroic than just beating something to death. Like, I understood it was heroic. Doomsday had to be stopped. But when you think of the death of Superman, you think of something more grand than, like, this big, dumb monster and Superman just punches it to death. It had Tom Jane was the voice of... Not Tom Jane. Jane from Firefly. Adam Baldwin was the voice of Superman. And I like Adam Baldwin, so there's a plus there. The best part of this movie was the evil Superman clone, which he was really creepy. He was really creepy and cool. It's kind of like they did Bizarro as a serious character. Like, Bizarro is often played for laughs or like tragedy, not really played for being particularly like menacing or scary. At least not that I've seen. I'm not saying it's impossible, but he's more of like a tragic comedic character. This movie had, like, what if a Superman clone really was crazy in, like, a real way? Like, he wasn't, like, backwards and funny. He was just, like, off in a subtle and very creepy way. So that was cool. That's part of that movie. Also cool thing, this is when they were going all out with the boxes. This is one of the early ones. So, like, it had, like, this cool... I took the dust sleeves off of most of these, just for simplicity's sake, but I kept this one on because it's kind of cool. Also, they were going all out because this one came with like the first like chapter or first like 20 pages, I'd say, of The New Frontier, which was the graphic novel that they were next going to adapt. So they were really ambitious with this one. It's a shame it's all the way at the top or bottom of my list, but still, being a bad DC animated movie is better than being most other animated movies, not naming names. Next up is the second one they made, ironically enough. This is Batman Gotham Knight. As I said before, I'm not like an anime expert, but I was kind of interested in this. I thought it would be... Batman is a character I think that lends himself well to anime. He's very, like, he's ninja-y, so... And it was an anthology, which I think is cool. I think Batman is also a character that lends himself very well to anthology stories, so I was excited for this. The problem with this one is that it was very tangentially connected to the Nolan universe. Like, they said it was, but it wasn't really. I don't know how much was just marketing and how much was actually, how much it was actually planned to be it. But what it really meant was that they couldn't use any Batman characters, really. It was, like, there was 3 villains there's like 5. I haven't watched it in a long time. There's like 5 stories, 3 villains, and 2 of them are in one and 1 of them are in another. So the other ones are just him dealing with like mafia types. Kind of boring. One of the stories was essentially a remake of an episode of Batman the Animated Series. The animated series one was way better. So I'm gonna assume there was 6 or 5, but I only liked 3 of them. There was the one where he's in this. There's a short story where he goes into the sewer and fights Scarecrow and Killer Croc, and you're wondering how they did Killer Croc in the Nolanverse. What they seemed to imply was that like Scarecrow's fear gas made Killer Croc look more monstrous, but I don't know. He just looked pretty monstrous even before Scarecrow's fear gas was involved. I don't care though, because I didn't really care about the tie into the Nolanverse at all. That one was cool. I liked Scarecrow's design. It was very cool and creepy. He was like leading a cult of homeless people in the sewers. I don't know. That didn't really tie into the movies. At least The Dark Knight. It could have been a reasonable ending if Scarecrow was only in Batman Begins, but he was in The Dark Knight also and Dark Knight Rises, so didn't really fit in with that. But it was still cool looking. Um, the other short story I really liked was Deadshot. I really like Deadshot's design. I thought it was like a very cool anime version of him, especially when he had like the coat and the hat. I think he should have just kept that the entire time. But it was just a basic Deadshot story. It wasn't anything amazing. And the other one I liked, I forget what it was called, like Work Through Pain or something. And it was about Bruce going to India and working with this yogi. I think she was. Can women even be yogis? I don't know much about Indian culture, but she was essentially a yogi. Working with this, I think she was disgraced too, for some reason. Maybe it's because she was a woman and she was practicing yogi. I don't know. Yoga. Maybe she was using too much yoga flame. I don't know, but she taught him to like, internalize his pain and like, and deal with it, and able to meditate through it. That's very interesting. I always really thought the whole Batman traveling around the world learning different skills was an interesting story that they never really like. Every time you see that, it's always just him learning kung fu. Like, why can't they show him going to India and learning techniques, going to learning escape artistry from like Zatara, or like learning detective work from Detective Chimp. Oh, that'd be fucking awesome. Detective Chimp teaching Batman all he knows. It's like the first episode of Samurai Jack, where it shows Jack going around all over the place, learning like mathematics from Egypt, learning how to use a bow staff in Africa, learning from Robin Hood, learning from throw axes in Russia. Like that, like they should do that with Batman. They should have him learn from Robin Hood and Egyptians. So those three stories were good. The other two or three, I can't even remember. Very just like meh. So also I kept the dust sleeve on this one, because like the Superman one, this is back when they were going all out, and it kind of had like a cool thing going on. All the other ones just have like shiny graphics on it. This also has a really good documentary on Batman, one of the best I've ever seen. So it's almost worth it just for that. Okay. Next up is Justice League Doom. My thoughts on this, I think, are pretty well known. The plans in this movie suck. If you want to know why, check out my other video about it. But other than that, it was pretty good. I really liked the choice of the Legion of Doom members, because it was like the C team. It wasn't like the A team. Obviously, they couldn't have Lex Luthor, because Vandal Savage was the main guy, and Lex doesn't ride shotgun. He's not going to be bossed around by anyone. Can't have Joker because he doesn't play with others. But it was cool to get the Bane is kind of overused, but it was cool to see Star Sapphire. It was cool to see Malefic, he's Martian Manhunter's evil brother. He should be like a big DC villain, because Martian Manhunter is pretty strong, and I think in the comics Malefic had less powers, but in this he had all the same powers. So if DC wanted to have like a new villain instead of using Darkseid all the time, I think Malefic could be fucking really a big threat. He can read people's minds, turn invisible, change his shape. I think he could be a major threat. But anyway, he's also got a really cool design. Mirror Master. See, like, I bet people would be thinking, like, I'd be mad that Mirror Master was in it and not Captain Cold, but I like all the Flash villains. It was cool to see Mirror Master get a little attention. His design in this was really cool. Like, he was very transparent. And you're never sure if you're looking at a hologram or real. You don't really know if he's all there, physically or mentally. Yeah, so that one, pretty cool. I like the Legion of Doom choices. The Batman being buried alive with his parents was pretty intense. I like that scene, and he had to punch his way out. It was pretty cool. Other than that, it was okay. The Wonder Woman plan, officially, in my opinion, the worst plan ever in a comic book medium, which is saying something. Next is Justice League War. This is the first of like the New 52 adaptation ones, and it's just pretty itchy over here. It was bleh. The thing about it is just because I think that story in the comic book was kind of bleh anyway. Like, it's like pretty much the most standard Justice League origin story you can imagine. Darkseid shows up and these guys are like, let's beat him up. Okay. The biggest problem with this one, I have two very hypocritical opinions. One, Superman. I don't like Superman in this movie because he's kind of a douche, and I love Green Lantern in this movie because he's kind of a douche. So, I don't know. I did like the fight between Superman, Green Lantern, and Batman. That was really cool. Didn't like that Aquaman was taken out in favor of Shazam. This was a Cyborg. Cyborg was the best part of this movie. His origin story was really cool. I liked how he was like really freakish when he first became Cyborg, and he became more streamlined as the movie went on. But like, he was so I can Cyborg is weird. Like I can understand him being freaked out that like he's like a weird cyborg now. But if you're gonna be a weird cyborg, at least you're like a cool one. But I can understand him freaking out in this movie because he was like a freaky monster at first. Probably the funniest thing I think in any DC animation. There was this one scene where Green Lantern goes to fight Darkseid, and Darkseid just fucking smacks him, and he hits the wall, and he falls to the ground, and like a bunch of parademons just run over and start like kicking him in the belly. That was probably the funniest thing in any DC animation ever. So it was just the timing. Whoever edited that or storyboarded it did an excellent job. Okay, next we have Superman Unbound. I'm trying to fix the light on this one. Superman Unbound was, it's funny for being pretty low on my list. I have to say, I think I like its animation style the best. Ooh. Yeah, that's good, right? I think I like its animation. It is the one that most looks like a modern update of like the Bruce Timm style. I think. I noticed I think a lot of people like complained about it in the reviews, but I don't know. I thought it looked really good. The story is based on a Jeff Johns story, and they cut out. I think the best, or not the best moment, but like the most intense moment of the Jeff Johns story was kind of cut out, so that was kind of left a sour taste in my mouth the entire time. Again, it's like more of a Supergirl story than anything, and I don't like Supergirl that much, so it loses points. Lois Lane is awesome in it. She has that one moment where she flips off Brainiac. It's pretty awesome. Yeah. John Noble is fighting Brainiac. He was a really good Brainiac. His voice was super creepy and cool. It's hard to do Brainiac, because they did Brainiac so well in the animated series that it's kind of hard to do him. You don't want to just keep doing that over and over again. But if you make it different, then it's like, it's not as good as the animated series. It wasn't as good. Sorry, Jeff Johns and whoever wrote this. It's just, you can't beat that one. That one was really good. Still pretty good, though. If you're looking for an average Superman story, like not like a great crazy Superman story. Like a lot of the Superman stories in this one are like some weird, like alternate, like the death of Superman or something. Like this is just like, if you just want a Superman story, this one's pretty good actually. Okay, next we have Crisis on Two Earths. This one was the Crime Syndicate, which I'm a fan of. So. And it's pretty low, but like it's not because it's bad. It's because everything above it is really good. I really liked Ultraman being like from Jersey. Like he's like, what if Superman crash landed in Newark instead of Kansas and was raised by like the Sopranos? So that was pretty funny. Owlman was awesome. He was like, James Woods was really good. He was really creepy. There wasn't. I like when they showed all the alternate heroes, like they showed like the alternate Lobo and the alternate Green Arrow and stuff. That was really cool. I wish they did more with the alternate villains. Like Alexander Luthor obviously is a big part, and they showed the Jester. I would have liked to seen more of them. It's sad that I was really sad that they were all dead. I thought like at least we could get a montage of them. Obviously, they probably don't want to design a bunch of characters that are just going to be a montage of them dying. But I think it would have been cool. Anything that has vibe in it is also gets a plus. So they had evil vibe was pretty funny. But the problem with this movie, I think, is that I shouldn't say it's a problem. Johnny Quick and Power Ring got kind of not especially Power Ring got like kind of screwed. They didn't get like a lot of screen time. Johnny Quick made got a lot of mileage out of what little he was in, but obviously you can't have everything. You can't you can't please everyone. You only have like 90 or so minutes. There's also like a weird romance subplot with Martian Manhunter that was pointless. The whole reason there was a romance subplot is because his alternate was killed, so they couldn't have him fight his alternate, so they had to get rid of him. But then why even have it's also worth mentioning that this was actually a script based on the Justice League animated series. This was supposed to be in between Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, which explained which this also explains how Wonder Woman got her invisible jet in the series, which was never explained. It explains why the League expanded. So you can even kind of like fudge it and pretend that this is actually set in that universe if you really want to. Also, cameo from Aquaman, so it kind of wins on that alone. Whoa. All-Star Superman. Based off one of the greatest comics of all time. This was also notable for being the last animated movie written by Dwayne McDuffie before he untimely passed, which was very sad. Pretty good. All-Star Superman, it's more of an anthology story than a straight story, and there's an overarching story, but it's more of just like a bunch of things. Like Superman gets diagnosed with he's gonna die like within 6 months or a year or something. I think it's been a long time. His days are numbered essentially, and so the anthology story is about like what would Superman do if he only had a year to live, and it's all this cool stuff that he's doing. Very interesting. Again, the movie only has 90 minutes, so it had to kind of like pare it down. Or is it 90 minutes? It's around 90 minutes. Has to kind of pare it down and make it more of a streamlined story. So, it's just a watered down version of that story. The comic book is way better. Read that if you instead of watching this. But this is also really, if you don't like reading comic books and you don't like reading that much, then definitely this is pretty good too. Alright, something I wanted to say about this, but I forgot what it was. Yeah, they kept the Lex Luthor part, which is my favorite part of the movie. So, my favorite part of the story. Oh, I remember what I wanted to say. The best thing about All-Star Superman is that, what's the most common complaint about Superman? He's too powerful. He's boring because he's so powerful. Grant Morrison, having the stroke of genius, was like, Superman's not boring because he's too powerful. Superman's fucking awesome because he's too powerful. Instead of, like, trying to humanize him and, like, make him weaker and make him more relatable, Grant Morrison was just like, no, he's like a god. He's just super like strong and super cool, and nothing can hurt him, and he's just really chill. In Grant Morrison's book Super Gods, the story was inspired by when Grant Morrison ran into like a Superman cosplayer. This is what the book says. When Grant Morrison ran into like a Superman cosplayer at Comic-Con, I think it was like in a bar after Comic-Con, and the dude was like the coolest, most relaxed and chill dude he ever met. And so that's what Superman would be like in real life, according to Grant Morrison. He wouldn't be this like guy. He would just kind of like be this like relaxed dude who's like, whatever, man. Maybe not whatever, man, but just like the kind of guy who is always at ease, because he would always be at ease if he's invulnerable. So that makes sense. And that's kind of I thought that might be why I like the story so much, is because I really enjoy the origin for it. Green Lantern First Flight. I like Green Lantern a lot, so I was very psyched that he was getting his own animated movie. The problem with this one is, if you're a Green Lantern fan, you're definitely going to watch this, but if you're a Green Lantern fan, you're probably going to be like, I don't know, this is the same Green Lantern, very standard Green Lantern story, which I guess since they don't do many Green Lantern stories, you got to start with the standard one. Still, not bad at all. Pretty good. The animated series was way better. But this one is pretty good. Sinestro especially was really good. I really like that scene where he like made a girl OD on moonballs, I think it was, to get her to give up information. That was pretty intense. But yeah, I like the Sinestro Corps uniform. Sinestro looks so good in that Sinestro Corps uniform. It was weird. The Sinestro Corps Central Power Battery. They said Sinestro Corps Central Power Battery had the Green Lantern symbol on it. I guess they didn't want to change the model. Because it was just the Green Lantern Central Power Battery but yellow. So I guess they didn't want to retake the model. But whatever. That's just a minor nitpick. Kilowog was great in it. I thought it was cool that they made Boudica a villain. I thought that was kind of a cool twist that I didn't see coming. Especially the scene where Kilowog stamped on Sinestro's hand. But I guess that means that I've been rambling too much about this one. Pretty good, but animated series was better. Batman Year One, an adaptation of a graphic novel I'm a fan of. Not as big a fan of as most people, but still I like a lot. By far, I mean, I don't think I'm shocking anyone to break any new ground by saying Commissioner Gordon was the best part of this one, voiced by Bryan Cranston, voiced to perfection by Bryan Cranston. I would say, to the point where I would like Bryan Cranston to play him in the movies, the live action ones. I think he'd do a great job. Good. Frank Miller's writing if his dialogue is really not meant to be heard out loud, it's meant to be read. So you have to have a really good actor like Bryan Cranston reading it, or it's going to sound dumb. The guy who did the voice of Batman wasn't that great. I mean, he was great. He was good when he was speaking like normally, but when he was doing like the Frank Miller internal monologue, it sounded pretty dumb to me. Other than that, just a straight adaptation. It's a straight adaptation. Pretty good. If they change anything, people would have been pissed. So I don't want them to change anything. like I'm not complaining by saying it's a straight adaptation. I'm just saying, this is one of the ones. This is one of the ones, unlike All Star, where you can just watch this and you pretty much read the book. Hey, the Wonder Woman movie. This one holds a special place in my heart because I saw it. I saw the world premiere of it when I went to my first Comic-Con, and I got to see Bruce Timm and stuff. I was fanboying out. It was pretty cool. Aside from that, this movie is really good. I like when they do characters that aren't Superman or Batman get their own movies. I'm always a fan of that. They don't sell as well, but I will always appreciate, even like Wonder Woman's supposed to be number 3 and she only has one movie. That's pretty sad. Hopefully, when her live action stuff comes out, we'll get more Wonder Woman stuff because New 52 Wonder Woman has been fucking awesome. But this movie is pretty good. The fight scenes were awesome. I think this movie probably has some of the better fight scenes, maybe even the top fight scenes in the entire series. Steve Trevor, voiced by Nathan Fillion, was awesome. I love that scene where he tries to outdrink her and just gets wasted, and they talk about Greek mythology and stuff, and it's really funny. Alfred Molina was Hades. Not Hades. He was Ares. Pretty awesome. I like Greek mythology too, so this was really interesting. An interesting interpretation of Hades. I've never seen a Hades quite like this one before. So, and Wonder Woman's cool. I was kind of afraid about this movie because I really didn't like Wonder Woman that much in the Justice League animated series. I don't know. Like Wonder Woman, I hate it when they play up the fish out of water thing. I forgot to mention that in Justice. If I can rewind to Justice League War, they really played up the Wonder Woman fish out of water. She seemed like she didn't seem like new. Or naive even. She seemed just dumb. Like, I know you're from a warrior culture, but are you really gonna shove your sword in somebody's face and be like, "That's some fucking good ice cream"? Like, especially if you're in like another country, you're gonna start waving your sword around. I've got to comment on that scene where that guy has like a Wonder Woman effigy when she's like, Wonder Woman's causing too much violence, and like I know you're supposed to not agree with him, but she was just fucking swinging her sword around in public. I can see where he's coming from in terms of not she dresses like a whore, but that she's pretty violent and she's kind of unpredictable. I did like that bit where she throws the lasso on him and then he's like, I crossplay as Wonder Woman. The best part about that is that Wonder Woman doesn't it's not treated, at least Wonder Woman doesn't treat it like as a joke or laugh at him. She's just like, if that's your truth, then you should live it. So I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. They kind of get to have their cake and eat it too. They get to make fun of cross-dressers and have Wonder Woman say that cross-dressers are a-okay. But back to this movie. I guess not back to this movie. Awesome. If you like, it's pretty violent. If you have like a little sister or something that likes Wonder Woman, I wouldn't show her that, at least until she gets older. Pretty violent, but pretty good. Green Lantern, Emerald Knights. This is another anthology one, which is awesome. No, this one I'm sticking with it. I'm not gonna give up on Green Lantern, Emerald Knights. Green Lantern, Emerald Knights, another anthology. Green Lantern is great for anthologies because there's so many of them. So many Green Lanterns, I should say. Not so many Green Lantern anthologies. Not enough of those. So a bunch of little short stories about Green Lanterns. The Kilowog one was great. The first Lantern one was very interesting. Was that written by Jeff Johns? I know Jeff Johns worked on this. I kind of think that one... And that's better than the actual Green Lantern. The Green Lantern origin, like where they came from in the comic books, is kind of weird. It's okay. It's not super. The one in this one was way better. That's kind of like what I've accepted as my personal canon for the origin of Green Lanterns. And then they have Kilowog's origin story, which is really good, written by Peter Tomasi and adapted by Peter Tomasi. Henry Rollins voicing Kilowog, which it works for the young Kilowog, but then when he gets older, he sounds, I don't know. I know Henry Rollins isn't a young guy, but he kind of sounds young to me. Then they have I forget her name, Asira or something. Hers is okay. It's just really long. It's by far the longest, and it's got really good fight scenes in it. But I don't know. I would have preferred more time be devoted to some of the other ones. Like Asira is kind of like C-list in Green Lantern, and she got a lot of screen time. Which I'm not against C-listers getting screen time, obviously, but Green Lanterns, when it comes to like being adapted, they're all like C-listers. So I kind of want like the C-plus listers, the ones I like. I'm just gonna be selfish and say it. I like the ones I like the Sinestro one. The Abin Sur Sinestro one was really good. And they totally the bad guys, Atrocitus. First time get to see him animated, it was cool. They totally faked me out, and probably a lot of people, because in the movie, Atrocitus shows Abin Sur the future and shows Sinestro going bad, and shows the Sinestro Corps. They put the scene of the Sinestro Corps attacking in the trailer without context. So I was like, they're doing Sinestro Corps War a little bit. That's fucking awesome. Here's hoping they will do that eventually, but not in this movie. Still, really good. It's a good primer on Green Lantern if you just want like the most Green Lantern bang for your buck. This is going to be a lot of Green Lanterns for a little time and a little money. Almost out here. Okay, moving right along. Justice League New Frontier. The second one that came out, and really interesting. It was a very interesting choice. It was a graphic novel that I hadn't heard of. I don't think a lot of people had heard of. I mean, I'm not saying... I mean, it's Darwin Cook, so obviously hardcore people knew it, but I'm pretty hardcore and I never heard about it. It's a very weird story to choose as their second one, because it's called Justice... It's kind of started their method of taking a story that's not Justice League and just calling it Justice League and putting the Justice League in it and selling it as that. It's really just the origin story of Green Lantern, the origin story of Martian Manhunter, and Flash kind of doing his thing. These three are in it, obviously, but just not as much as these three down here. Really good. A lot of social commentary, a lot of cool stuff about the 50s and the Silver Age, and there's a lot of nostalgia, a lot of good things about that time, a lot of bad things about that time too. They cut out the best part. The best thing I could say about this is that it inspired me to go out and buy the graphic novel, which is one of the best graphic novels I've read. They cut out the best part of the graphic novel, which was the John Henry story, but I can totally understand why. This was before they started doing the little short films, and if they did a John Henry short film on this one, that would have been amazing. But beyond that, really good movie. Darwin Cook was a storyboarder or a character designer on the Batman animated series and the Justice League animated series. So you think his style would be easy to adapt, but it didn't come out. I don't know. I guess his style is just too good. Darwin Cook's one of my favorite artists. Right out here. One of my favorite artists, so I guess I just am biased towards his art. I mean, I'm not saying that this movie looks bad, but it just doesn't look nearly as good as the book. I would get the book before I'd watch this, honestly. But, again, if you don't want to read the book, this movie's damn good. Except no substitutes, except for that one. Okay, Throne of Atlantis. Fanboyism coming out a little bit. I can't claim that this movie is better than some of the ones I mentioned previously, but come on, it's an Aquaman movie. I had to put it up at the top. Again, you can refer to my other review, so still really good. Super violent, but I enjoy seeing Mera kick all kinds of ass. I enjoy seeing Aquaman talk to lobsters. Another one I previously reviewed. Ooh. 1 second. We're getting a little low now, so I kind of have to do this. Another one I previously reviewed. This one came out of left field. I mean, I like the Suicide Squad. I prefer Secret Six. I don't know why I'm getting so thirsty. Maybe it's from drinking too much. I like the Suicide Squad. I prefer Secret Six. I'm not a huge fan of Suicide Squad or Secret. Not a super huge fan of the Suicide Squad. So this movie, I was interested in. Obviously, I always like when they do characters that aren't Batman or Superman or the Justice League. Really, I think this is the first movie that features not Batman, not Superman, not Justice League. This is the only one that's just like, let's take some. Harley Quinn's not. She's B. B to D level characters and make up a story all about them. So that was really cool. I'm always interested to see lesser known properties get a little love. Apparently, Suicide Squad isn't a lesser known property because it was in this, it was in the Arrow show, and not apparently they are making a movie with Will Smith as Deadshot. We'll see how it is. I hope it's really good. I just live action Captain Boomerang better be an asshole too, because Captain Boomerang's kind of an asshole. Hopefully Captain Boomerang doesn't die in the live action one. Next up, this is going to be the you know what's coming now if I'm grabbing two. The 2-for-1 special. You know what it looks like. There you go. Batman Dark Knight Returns. This is the one everyone, since they started, this is the one everyone was kind of clamoring for. In my opinion, and in many others, the best Batman story ever written. Probably the worst Superman story ever written. This is the story that launched 1,000 Batman fanboys saying that Batman can kick Superman's ass. He can't. But still, a really good story. Batman being this old, grizzled... Yeah, like, I don't have to tell you that Dark Knight Returns is a good story. If you don't know... You've probably heard of it. If you've never read it or seen this, then... This is one of the ones that I say I think is... I'm probably a minority. I think this is just as good as the book. I think they did a really good job adapting it. I don't know his name. I don't watch Lost, but a dude from Lost played the Joker, and he was fucking awesome. RoboCop played Batman, he was fucking awesome. Carrie Kelly was awesome. Carrie Kelly is my second favorite Robin. So, definitely A+ on this one. This one, if I had to suggest that like a random person watch a DC animated film, it would be these ones. I think this is the it might even be, no, it's definitely not the best, but this is the one I would give to people, I think. Either that one or the one I think is the best. Coming up next, I think more fanboyism is probably going to come out on this one, too, because it's Flashpoint. I'm a huge Flash fan, too. I came prepared. I brought a spare. Huge Flash fanboy as well as an Aquaman fanboy. I like the Flashpoint story. Already did a review on this one if you want to check it out. Still, really good. The character designs are a little wonky, but other than that, definitely worth watching. And Thomas Wayne Batman is awesome. Okay. For number 2, I think this is going to be a controversial choice. Number 2 is Superman versus the Elite. This one was a big shock for me. Was not expecting too much about it. I was aware of the story. What's the wrong with Truth, Justice, and the American Way? I think that's what it's called, or whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow. I don't know. But still, aside from the too powerful argument, which I think All-Star answers, the other big complaint lobbed against Superman is that he's too much of a goody-good, and I think this movie answers that really well. The story concerns these guys called the Elite, which are, like the anti-hero. They kill everyone. They kill villains kind of way, and Superman takes issue with that. And it's the whole story that spins out of their conflict, because for the most part, the Elite aren't treated as, for 75% of the movie, which is most, the Elite aren't treated as, hardcore bad guys, or even they have their own point of view. You can see where they're coming from. They even have some good arguments, but Superman has his own good points and his good arguments, and when those come to a head, it's really good. It's a really interesting and good ending. Really well voiced. George Newbern, the second Superman from the animated series, the animated universe, was really good in this, especially that scene at the end. You get to hear Superman say "wanker" as well, which is really good. Is it Troy Baker? I didn't say. I think it's Troy Baker. Okay, whoever voices Manchester Black was really good too. Manchester Black is he's kind of an interesting character. I would really like to see him and Constantine kind of go at it. They'd either hate each other or become best friends. The other members of the Elite are okay. The Hat is like this magician who can pull anything out of his head, and mostly what he pulls out is alcohol. So He's pretty awesome. I think he needs to be. They need to put him on the Justice League Dark because I think he's a pretty cool guy. Superman's relationship with Lois is they're married and she knows everything about him. Very good in this movie. Uh, See, this was one of the ones where there's not a lot of action. It's more of an interesting story. So I don't want to talk about it that much because if you haven't, I feel like this is kind of the one that I don't think a lot of people have seen because it's not like there wasn't a huge amount of buzz for this one. Really good though. Probably my favorite Superman thing ever. Animated, written, adapted by the guy who wrote. It was a single issue. Oh my god, what's his name? Hold on, again. Oh, it was Robin Atkins. It was Robin Atkin Downs who voiced Manchester Black. He also voices the medic on Team Fortress 2. Fun fact. Say who wrote it? Joe Kelly. Joe Kelly wrote the issue, and he also adapted this movie. Joe Kelly, most notable for the guy who made Deadpool. Like before Joe Kelly wrote Deadpool, Deadpool was like just a serious mercenary, and then Joe Kelly made him the character we all know today. Kind of weird how his two most famous works are Deadpool and Superman. You can't get too much, you can't get too polar opposite than that. But he's really good. I haven't read anything that much of his stuff besides Deadpool and Superman, so I have to check out more. Also notable, this movie was based off of a single issue as opposed to a graphic novel. So instead of cutting stuff out, they actually added a bunch of stuff in. Like the single issue, pretty much the end of this movie is the single issue, and all the stuff that happens before it was made up by the writer. So it's almost like an expanded edition, like the director's cut, or the expanded edition of the story. Really good. Watch this one, especially if you don't like Superman. If you don't like Superman, think he's boring, I would watch this one. Maybe it'll change your attitude somewhat. Okay, number one. I don't think I'm shocking anyone with my number one choice, but the best is the best for a reason. Under the Red Hood, best DC animated movie. I'm not including. I would say it's caveat. I'm not including like all the like tie-in movies like Sub-Zero or Mask of the Phantasm. I still would put this above Mask of the Phantasm and Return of the Joker. I put this above those ones because that's how good this one is. Solidified Jason Todd is my favorite Robin and one of my favorite DC characters. Not a lot of good stuff done with him in the New 52, in my opinion, in his own series. When he shows up in Batman, I enjoy it, but not so much in his own series. This one also adapted by the guy who wrote the original story, Judd Winnick, and I think he vastly streamlined and improved his story. This is one of those ones where, the 90-minute runtime actually really tightened up the screws, tightened the belt, and made this a really interesting, good story. The beginning, the only problem at the beginning, the Amazo stuff is kind of weird, and I think the Amazo is kind of out of place in this very gritty and realistic superhero movie, but whatever. Once Red Hood starts showing up, it starts getting really cool and really intense. And the scene at the end is, I totally agree with, I think, the Red Hood at the end. I don't know if I'm supposed to, but I do. I think he brings up some good points against Batman. John DiMaggio, Bender, and Jake, and Aquaman from Brave and the Bold, voices Joker, and I think he was really, I really liked his Joker. I don't know if he's hated or not in the animation fanboy circles, but it was a really unique take on the Joker. Like like he was like completely deadpan until he said something funny and then kind of lost it. And he had a lot of funny lines. The Mater D line, it was, I don't know why he felt the need to use it twice, but he did, and it was bizarrely funny. The scene in the beginning, the death of the family scene, was as good as they could have done it. I don't think they could have done it any better. Anything more would have been too much, and anything less would have been kind of a cop-out. I think they nailed it perfectly. The animation is great. This is a really good-looking movie, better looking than a lot of the new ones. The choreography of the fight scenes is great. The guy who voiced Red Hood, Jason Ackles, I think. He's from some show. I don't know. But he was great. They need to, Judd Winnick needs to write more, just in general. I don't, but then again, he did Catwoman and everyone said it sucked, but I didn't read it. I really liked his Generation Lost, and I really liked Red Hood Lost Days. So I didn't really like this. So he needs to write more. Oh, my throat's getting all scratchy. Maybe it's from talking for 45 minutes. Oh my god, this is going on too long. If you're still watching this, congratulations. You're as big of a loser as I am. You're in good company. But thank you for listening, I guess. And hopefully they make many more of these. I'll see you guys next time.